What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So what I want to discuss today, first off, many people say it is going to happen. We are going to see the Build Back Better Act pass eventually. We got news today that the Senate is going to hold votes. It will not be in 2021, but they will hold votes eventually in 2022. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says it will happen in the beginning of the year, so we'll see if that actually does take place. So we have some stimulus updates there. I do have some positive news regarding Social Security benefits and an update on that. Going to talk a little bit on Omicron and address how Goldman Sachs has actually cut the GDP forecast already moving into 2022. So a lot of stuff to cover today. First off, hopefully you guys had an incredible weekend, but let's get into the update for today. First, Senator Joe Manchin. He essentially pulled the rug out from underneath Democrats with this big move of not supporting the Build Back Better Act. It is because of this move that Goldman Sachs has already cut the GDP forecast because of this one thing. They now predict 2% growth in the first quarter. Previously, it was at 3%. They also predict inflation will be as high as in the 7% range over the next few months before it begins to fall. Now, this has a lot of people very worried, and I want to explain why in just a second. However, the stock market has reacted as usual. They seem to pretty much price in the fact that the Build Back Better Act was never going to pass. And now there's a major question that people want answered. Here's what people are wondering. Will not passing the Build Back Better Act actually hurt the economy now that the Federal Reserve is already planning 3 rate increases in 2022? Some economists believe that no Build Back Better Act and 3 rate increases could actually send the US into a recession, which is not great news. But here's what you need to keep in mind. The Build Back Better Act, as of right now, it's not going to pass in 2021. It could potentially pass in 2022. We do know the rate increases will happen most likely come, April or beyond, right? That's when they'd start. But here's the thing. Where do we go from January, February, March into April? Where do we go? Are we going to see, more, a little bit more as far as inflation? Are we going to see the economy, really recover, or will we go into a somewhat of a recession? We don't know. And that's what is causing a lot of concerns for not just investors, but just the everyday people. But here's what you need to know. Today, Senator Chuck Schumer, who is the Senate Majority Leader, he stated that in the early part of 2022, the Senate will take up a vote on the Build Back Better Act. He says he wants all members of the Senate to have the opportunity to make their positions known, not just to television and to the media, but to the members of the Senate. He wants to make sure every person has their position known to every single person in the Senate. That's the goal. He also stated that the Senate will vote on a revised version of the House-passed Build Back Better Act, but we do not know how much of a revision this is going to be. We know that the immigration provision will most likely have to be pulled out. We know there's other things that were included that some in the Senate don't want, right? So there's an issue there. But here's the other thing you need to keep in mind. Senator Joe Manchin wants certain revisions. Senator Bernie Sanders wants other revisions. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Elizabeth Warren, they all want different things as well. We got talks on the SALT tax deductions, right? We got, EV credits. We got, the tax revenue. There's so many things that are wrapped up into this bill, and everybody wants their agendas to pass. But the problem is not everybody's going to get exactly what they want. So, the Senate is going to vote, and according to Senator Chuck Schumer, he says the Senate will continue to vote until they get something done. Now, here's what I want to bring up right now. Because yes, the Senate is going to vote. They're going to vote on a voting rights bill. They're going to vote on the Build Back Better Act. And according to the letter that he wrote to colleagues, that he sent to colleagues today, in this letter, he says that if Republicans are going to continue to hold out and not allow the legislative process to continue, then Democrats are going to have to do whatever they can to change the rules. Now, I don't know if this means changing the filibuster. My guess is that's the only thing they're really addressing here. But if they change it, how do they do it? Because we do know Senator Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema will not vote to change the filibuster. Even President Biden said that he doesn't believe changing it would do them any good, especially if they were to lose power in the House, or really in the Senate. But if Democrats lose power in the House and the Senate, it's going to make it very easy for Republicans to go and pass bills in the House and the Senate without a filibuster, which really only affects the Senate. But if Republicans can go and pass bills and then send it to President Biden's desk, President Biden's going to have to be the one to veto the bill, which could create a lot of issues, especially if these are bills that many of the American people want. So we'll see what happens there. Now, what I can tell you is right now that a lot must be done. Senator Schumer says that a lot of stuff must be done because more than 1 out of every 4 Americans weren't able to buy the medications that they needed as a result of the increased costs. He also says the child tax credit payments ended this past week on December 15th, and there's no additional payments going out to these families that are in need. He says the planet is warming faster than ever before, and extreme weather disasters have become even more common, and we need to address this. He also says more than 3 million workers lost their jobs due to the pandemic, many of which were women leaving the workforce. He says this is something that the Build Back Better Act addresses. So, Senator Schumer, he will be tasked with getting Senator Joe Manchin on board. But the one issue right now could be that nobody knows what to expect moving forward. Nobody knows what the Omicron variant is going to bring. Some say that within the next 3 weeks to 4 weeks, we will have more answers. They say that there's a little bit of a lag time between the COVID cases and the hospitalizations versus death. So we'll see what happens there. What I can tell you though, we are simply in a waiting period until we know more. Now, the Build Back Better Act, we're going to get discussions on that. We're going to get negotiations that will probably be leaked. But as far as the Omicron variant, there's no real timetable outside of the 3 to 4 week period where we know, okay, this is going to give us a good indication of where we're headed. So we can look at South Africa and see what's going on there. But again, we're 2 different countries. We are very different. They have more of a natural immunity because they didn't have as many vaccines. Here in the US, we have a lot of people that did get the vaccines. I don't remember the exact percentage, but there's a good percentage of people that did get the vaccines. Unfortunately, the vaccines aren't really 100% effective or even close to 100% effective against the Omicron variant. So that creates a little bit of an issue there. So we'll see. Now, being that we don't know what's going to happen, we know the Build Back Better Act is going to be delayed. We know the Omicron variant is, obviously still surging, but a lot of this stuff doesn't sit well with progressives. Progressives say that they were betrayed. They were lied to. And this is what Representative Pramila Jayapal had to say the other day. And keep in mind, she is the U.S. Progressive Caucus chairwoman. She said, and I quote, "Today, Senator Manchin has betrayed his commitment not only to the president and Democrats in Congress, but most importantly to the American people. He routinely touts that he is a man of his word, but he can no longer say that. West Virginians and the country see clearly who he is." Now remember, Senator Joe Manchin, he made it very clear that when progressives were holding out on passing the $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill, this is a pure infrastructure bill, he made it very clear that he wouldn't hold up a vote on another piece of legislation just because he wanted his. And he doesn't expect progressives to do that either. And they pretty much forced progressives to vote on the bill. Senator Joe Manchin and other moderates were able to get President Biden on board, have President Biden talk to the group of progressives and say, hey, if you vote on this bill, this pure infrastructure bill for $1.2 trillion, I promise we will get a vote on the $1.75 trillion human infrastructure bill, the Build Back Better Act. Well, that didn't happen. He made it clear that if progressives voted, Senator Joe Manchin would vote as well. Now, reluctantly, progressives voted to pass the $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill, but soon after, they quickly realized they were played, that this was not something that moderates were even going to consider. This was something that was simply just going to sit here and do absolutely nothing. So that's creating a big issue with progressives at this time, saying that President Biden and moderates like Senator Joe Manchin, they cannot be trusted. So we'll see what happens over the next year, because honestly, the way things are going at this point, I would not expect the House and the Senate to be retained by Democrats. I would anticipate that Republicans win back the Senate and they will take back the House. So we'll see. Let's talk about Social Security for a second, because there was a big thing that came out today. First off, new checks will be coming out in a matter of weeks. Now, I just want to give you an update. If you don't know exactly when your check is coming out, let me just give you a quick little update. People that were born between the 1st and the 10th of the month, it doesn't matter which month, they will get their checks, their newly adjusted cost of living checks. They will get these on January 12th. People that were born between the 11th and the 20th, they get their checks on January 19th. And people born after the 20th, it doesn't matter when, after the 20th, they will get their checks on January 26th. But let's address the big news for today. Biogen, who makes the Alzheimer drug Aduhelm, I believe. That's how you say it. They have said they're going to cut their treatment costs in half, which means instead of people paying $56,000 per year, they will only be required to pay $28,000. That was a big drop. Being that they just got approval and now they dropped their price by 50%, this just shows how much more these companies are charging for these medications. Now, they say this is going to help people who really need this medication, but is that really the reason why they cut their price? No. What we know is that Medicare had to increase their premiums for Medicare recipients. They had to increase it by $11 per month just to account for the $56,000 price. But here's where things get very interesting. We don't know if Medicare is going to cut their $11 increase. We don't know if they're going to cut it by 50%. And maybe you only have to pay an additional $5.50. At this time, the expectation is no, that they are not going to cut this. You will continue to pay the $11 per month in additional costs in order to help pay for this $56,000 price. But again, Biogen says they cut it to $28,000. So that's very interesting. We don't know what's going to happen yet because this just came out this morning. But here's something else that I think is extremely interesting as well. According to multiple reports, Medicare is not going to make a decision as to whether or not they will help cover the cost of this until possibly April. But they're already going to price in the cost increase as a result. So let me just explain what is going on. Medicare is going to try to figure out whether they are going to cover the cost of this Biogen medication, which was going to be $56,000 per year. They're going to decide on this sometime before April. Okay? So we got January, February, March. 3 months of you paying an additional $11 per month, which to many people is a lot. $11 can take them pretty far. But here's the thing. You could be paying this additional $11 per month for this entire year, and then Medicare decides, you know what? We're not even going to cover this. This is not something we're even going to consider. So then what happens? You're paying an extra $11 into Medicare premiums, but it actually doesn't cover anything because Medicare could simply opt out of it. So that's the other issue, is you're going to continue to pay when essentially this might not be included later on. But again, and then on the other side of it, Biogen announced this morning that they're going to cut the cost by 50%. So honestly, I don't know who's ripping you off more. Is it Biogen or is it just Medicare? Honestly, I don't know. But I just wanted to bring that up to you because I know a lot of people just want to see what's going on, want the news. That's what's happening. But let's get into some COVID news for today. Many schools are already closed down for their Christmas break, but according to multiple schools, they're actually turning to remote learning as a result of the Omicron variant. Some school districts are saying that they are already preparing to return from winter break and go straight into remote learning, not even head back to school. And they say that this could actually go on for at least 2 to 3 months in order to help limit the spread of the Omicron variant in their community. The good news though is Moderna reported this morning that their booster dose does help protect against the Omicron variant. So we will see what happens there, but that is what we know as of this morning. Again, I just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. If you enjoyed today's video, do me a favor, hit that like button. It really does help out the channel. Also, consider subscribing so I can keep you up to date on everything that's going on. Again, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.